Does everything have a bright side to it? Of course. Doesn't always outweigh the negatives, but everything has a bright side to it. This makes happiness a choice. And here we say that the discipline of being happy is the ultimate discipline. With that said, welcome to the Ultimate Discipline Podcast, where we meet with people who are practitioners of this exact discipline, and we hear their cool stories of cultivating happiness through challenges in their life. I am your host, Sean Greenspan. Let's get to it.
Carmen, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Well, I'm good. Always good nowadays. I've learned to, whenever the moment is, to find the good and be good. And so, yeah, I'm good. Although today is actually a good day also. Things are rolling smoothly so far. I haven't had to calm the fire or anything like that. It's just kind of going.
Yeah, it's funny. I kind of want to dive into that, right? You said like you're always good, and then you're like, but it actually is a good day. I feel like I definitely know what you mean, right? Yesterday was one of those days I felt like anything I tried to do, like logistics wise, plan wise, just flawlessly happened. But I think they are the same thing, right? 'Cause I feel like life's so much perspective, like, you know, I definitely feel like, just your attitude coming into everything of being good. Of course, it's going to end up good.
Yeah, because it's kind of a funny question. And I think we're just so used to doing it like, oh, hi, how are you? And everyone's just good. But are they really good? Or it just becomes, I don't know. Do they really think about it? Do they when you ask, hi, how are you? Do you really want to know how I am? How much time do you have?
Yeah, right. Like, how are you doing? Well, sit down. I got some time.
Yeah, let me go in detail. So it's this funny kind of thing of, is it really a question of how are you doing? Let me hear about your life right now. Or is it just kind of like a hello? And we just, for some reason, always commonly say, how are you? But I do think that post-pandemic, there's silver linings to it. And one of the things that it really taught me is learning to be good in all those situations, in the sense of how I choose to see each situation, I mean, because if I get a flat tire, I'm not like, oh, life is awesome. But there's also, it's how I choose to deal with that moment. Oh, thank goodness I was able to pull over without getting an accident. Or, hey, thank goodness I have a cell phone to call for help. And then being able to choose, I could either be like, oh my God, that freaking sucks. Or I could be like, okay, this is where I'm at. Let's try and calmly deal with this. And, because you only have that moment. You're in the moment, and then, it's how you choose to deal with it. So I feel like now when someone says, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm good. I'm choosing in life to be good in each moment, the best I can.
I just love that you just explained the reason why I started the podcast. Because when we're we had a call a couple weeks ago, and we're we're trying to chat some business. So when I was like, hey, how you doing? Honestly, in that time, I was looking for a good, how are you? And then we just move on. But I do want to know what's deeper. And maybe that's not the time and place. And that's the whole reason I started this podcast. And I'll tell you, the second person I had on this podcast, I said, hey, Dakota, how are you doing? He said, good, Sean. What's got you stoked in life right now? That was just his first question. And I love that. The sad thing is a lot of people struggle to answer it, but it's, even if they struggle, it's a good exercise to dig. What's got you stoked right now? It forces gratitude, right?
Yeah. And that, I love how you just said that exercise to dig. I mean, it made you think for a moment. And I think that's incredible. And I love that you've done this podcast, because sometimes we don't take the time to really, talk in deeper ways with people. We maybe will meet someone and then, just not connect, or especially at like an event or a party or something, or even via email, and then you never really get to take that time to go deeper into how you're feeling, or even just life, or more about how they see life. And, so I love that you are taking the time to force us to dig deeper with one another. So
Oh,
thank you.
thank you. Well, thank you for finding time in your schedule to make it happen. Because yeah, I think it's really important. I I can tell you that I started this purely. You could probably tell by the marketing of the podcast. I started purely for fun, right? For me, for the guests. I think it's a way to learn. It's funny. I actually just finished the book The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Really good book about about positive mindset. Similar things to like the law of attraction, but definitely a unique spin on it. And I sent him an email and I said, I was like, uh, this book was amazing. I took away this, and honestly, like these couple points in here, like I kind of want to challenge them. Like
Mm.
not that I don't agree with them, but like I need to push further. Do you want to do that on my podcast? This was on a Sunday. He responded in 10 minutes. He said, absolutely, send me dates. It's I realized I think people are yearning for like a little bit of a deeper connection, and I even felt bad. I was like, hey,
Yeah.
just so you know, this is like it's a smaller scale podcast, right? And he's like, you took the time to read a book and dive into this. I just want to beat up these ideas with you. I think he just looks at it as like, like a fun project for him.
Well, yeah, but also like he's a writer and he put out information. So he's also an educator. So it's
Yeah,
like you can't stop an educator, I always feel like this as a teacher. Like I didn't know I wanted to be a teacher, but I just always taught. Like even if there was like, oh my God, this class, it's so beautiful. I love it. You have to try it from this class. Like whatever I
yeah,
loved, whatever I felt helped me, I had to share it. So, it's like I could see that for him. He's an author. He wanted to get his information out. You want to teach, you want to share, but having people question certain things can really allow him to probably learn more, but also for others to, dive deeper into it and question it is a really wonderful thing. It shows that, there could be growth within it. As a teacher and educator, you learn from your students. So having them have questions is a blessing for sure.
yeah. It's something as a yoga teacher yourself, and we'll get to your intro in a minute, but we're in too juicy a topic right now. But as a yoga teacher yourself, I find myself the same thing, right? Like, and I need to balance it because sometimes I realize I can be pushy. Oh, you need to do this meditation. Oh, you need to exercise like this. And it just comes from, I take a lot of time to study things and try things, and I've realized they work for myself, and I want to share it, but it's not the only
Yeah.
way. Um, but I realized teaching's the best way to learn. And
Hmm.
I really, really had trouble getting into meditation and yoga. And there were things that I just looked at as like, I want to calm my mind loose. I do like powerlifting and running, so I need to stretch. And I was like,
Hmm.
the best way that I did it was I would watch videos and then I would try to teach like my girlfriend, and not to teach her because she probably knows more than me, but like even if I was by myself, I would need to like audibly say like, okay, now we're gonna like hold this pose for 20 seconds and we're gonna breathe in through the nose and whatever I was doing, like I don't like the act of teaching helps you like stay focused and present, I think. And it definitely helped me kind of like, you know, I like just enjoy the experience a little bit more. I don't want to say like get better, but kind of like advance my practice.
Well, when it comes out of your mouth, there's a self realization of awakening to knowing something. And it's when someone tells you something, it's one thing, but when you can say it, it's this realization that you know it, you understand it. So
Mhm.
even just saying it's amazing, but yeah, teaching it, it's creates that awakening and awareness within too, you know. But also what I love about teaching is then your girlfriend could have been like, what, why, where, how? And you'd be like, oh, I got to do these things. Or, next time I teach, maybe I should tell them what, where, why, how, while I'm doing it, you know, so they don't have to question. And then all of a sudden now you're realizing, oh, there's more things that need to come in. So it's just this like layering upon layering, you know. And I teach teachers, and I even teach teachers to teach teachers, which is like kind of hard to put your mind around. And one of the things that I always talk about is that you have to start verbalizing it a lot. That's the way that you're going to understand it. If you just let me to tell it to you and you just feel like you know it, you'll know it, but it's going to be hard to really trust and know that you know it until you're able to verbalize it and feel confident verbalizing it, you know? So I think that's cool. I mean, I also think that there's a lot of mindfulness in that with like self-discovery and ways that you teach too. You know, I've been doing this mindfulness teacher training, which has been really wonderful. And a part of that is a different style of teaching rather than directive of like, you do this, creating these cause effect. So there's self-exploration and then self-awareness rather than, I guess what example, like if you draw your shoulders down, that lengthens your spine, right? And it lengthens your neck. But if you were to tell the student, try drawing the shoulders down and just what happens to the neck? And it's like they're all of a sudden that student is, oh, I drew my shoulders down. Oh, that lengthens my neck, right? They actually had that self-discovery, then that's like a deeper style of learning rather than
doing it
draw
now.
your shoulders, draw your shoulders down to lengthen your neck. It's like there's no it doesn't process very well. And they don't really own it and realize it. But when there's that physical self-discovery, then they're going to understand it more and learn it more. Then the next time, if they actually said that to someone, is it just a deeper awareness that you're having?
Yeah, right. For that. So if you say like, you know, draw your shoulders down to lengthen your neck, there's no thought that needs to happen. And I think it goes even back to the beginning. If I say, hey, how you doing? And you say good, like that's all just subconscious. That's just habit, right? And habits have their place, but habits and our subconscious do kind of run our lives. And I think tapping into that, like you were saying, awareness is like the key to then being able to say, like, no, I am good, right? Like, you know, maybe your subconscious programming says, like, oh, I'm flat tower, I'm supposed to be angry. But like, no, like realistically, like you said, I have a cell phone. You live in California, it's probably sunny. So while you're outside, it's beautiful. I got to tell you that right away, you hit on the two reasons that I started the podcast. We covered the first one. And the second one was you used the word silver lining. And in my intro to the podcast, that is exactly what I say is that everything has a bright side to it. Now, that bright side does not need to overcome, right? Like, I think the best example, because it's just so dramatic, is if somebody passes away. Overall, that's a negative outcome, right? COVID. Overall, that's negative. But there's tons of positives, and let's bring our attention and awareness to that, right? Like, COVID opened up a lot of opportunity for people. A lot of people started working remotely, spent more time in the house. You know, there's a lot of great things. Like, not at all like negating a lot of the negatives, right? I mean, lots of people died, right? But we don't really control a lot of these things, so you may as well control the way you handle them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's gratitude for sure. Finding the silver lining is also when you start finding the things that you're grateful for in every moment, the silver lining starts to appear, you know. And you know, we only have a choice. Like, we are in control of like how I think and how I feel. Like, I can't control what is happening all the time. I can't control what you think, what you say, what you feel. So it's like so important, you know, to control what you're thinking and feeling. And if I'm, you know, feeling kind of shitty, most of the time I'll be like, wow, what am I thinking? Because it's what I think actually is going to control kind of how I'm feeling. So yeah, I mean, you know, during COVID, yeah, it was I mean, there were so many awful things in the world. And even I could talk about awful things for us, like our business closed, we lost a ton of money, like, you know, those were awful. But also, yeah, I got time with my kids. I would have never had time to film 500 hours of aerial yoga teacher trainings.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's
I mean, that's
all these
awesome.
positive things. And once you say that, it's like, oh, even during this scary, awful time, I'm okay. Like, I have my family. I get to spend more time with them. I
Yeah.
get to do something that I've always wanted to do, which is film. And so all of a sudden, it's like those negatives start to kind of become like dwindle away.
Yeah.
You know, it's similar to where I use malas in yoga, and it's these beaded necklaces, and kind of probably similar to like rosary. But you know, a lot of times you can say mantras, or you can start by saying the things that you are grateful for, and then saying the things that you need to work on. And then the next part would be asking for things. And what you'll find is that as you go around saying all the things that you're grateful for, and then saying all the things that you work on, all of a sudden this like asking for like, I want, I need, it gets like slowly dwindled down out of like, ooh, look at all the stuff I have, and look at the things I really need to work on. Like, maybe I don't really need anything because, you know, I have so much already. So,
It's
you know, this gratitude practice is like really changed my life a lot in every
yeah.
moment.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that example, right? There's a Stoic philosophy, there's a Stoic practice. Like Tim Ferriss does a modern version of it. He lives a few days every month with nothing. So his version of nothing is eating like a poor person, so rice and beans for every meal, sleeping outside, no use of technology, things like that. And the whole time, like he's asking himself through like kind of meditation, you know, is this what I'm so scared of? And he said he's had some of his most peaceful, relaxing days like that. And we get so stressed out about things that, you know, that in the grand scheme really don't matter. I wanna ask you. I mean, you know, you sound like you kind of unlocked a little key with gratitude, and I want to ask you about that. But first, I would love if you don't mind giving yourself a little introduction, because you do have a really cool background that I think is worth sharing.
So how long's the podcast gonna be?
Oh, we got time.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's just funny because I can't describe myself as like one thing. It's so wild. I do so much. But my name's Carmen Curtis, and I live in California. But I started as a gymnast and then turned into a cirque performer, like Cirque du Soleil, and performed and toured and traveled the world. And I was always a gymnast, but I was also got into yoga very young, which was allowed me to have a longer career and really changed my life at 18 when I had a full ride scholarship to UCLA. And my coach there, Valerie Condos, brought in this like hippie guy to teach yoga. Like this was, oh my gosh, in 96 or 7. So it was just coming out in California, but it really, really changed my world in the sense of help take away pain that I had, but also taught me about the mind body connection that I had just never learned before. I was a, you know, top professional athlete that hated competing, but I had never understood of that, what we think we become. Like I never had thought about my thoughts affecting me. So it was really awakening and helped shift and changed everything I do. So from that age of 18, I've continued to practice yoga in many forms, in like the fitness level, like big tricks, to like calming, meditative. But went into Cirque du Soleil, started also then creating acts. I ended up being able to create the show Le Rêve at the Wynn Hotel in Las Vegas. I have 2 kids. I went back
Which
to Cirque
that
performing
was
after
a
kids.
very well performing show. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. It was amazing. I'm very proud of it. It was a transformation for me from being the performer to being able to be a creator.
Yeah.
And after my second child, it was time to not do Cirque shows all day, every day. So we moved to Ventura, California, and I opened up an AIReal studio. And at that same time, I had created this form of, I hadn't really called it anything, but it was using a circus hammock that we typically perform in the air and do crazy things with, using it super, super low as a physical and mental wellness tool, which ended up becoming AIReal Yoga. And people flooded to take it, and it got so big I needed teachers. So I created a curriculum and a teacher training program, which is now built into what I do. Is I teach teachers to teach AIReal Yoga, and I teach teachers to teach the teachers to teach AIReal Yoga. And I write curriculum with the Yoga Alliance approval. And we have studios all over the world. We have teachers all over the world, and we're trying to help share, at least for me, I'm trying to help share physical and mental wellness, yet offering it with a tool called an AIReal hammock that is like the ultimate prop for anybody at any level, at any age. Along with that, we have a circus studio, and then, which I know, Sean, we've been talking about, I just also opened a event space and theater. So a little busy around here, but in love with everything that I do, and it all connects with one another, even though they're very different. Sure. And I also get hired to teach and choreograph, and mainly teach pop stars to do AIReal because they want it in lots of their shows. And so working with local students to Beyonce is kind of what I do. So it's kind of a wide range.
Beautiful. I love it. And I am thinking about 2 questions, very different questions. The first one is, it seems like you've never done something that you didn't love. And you should, I know you feel fortunate to be put in that position, but I think you also feel, that you worked for that, right? Like, it's both, right? Like we're very, you're very fortunate that you're able to live that life, and that doesn't mean it was given to you in many ways. And I'd love to understand what that perspective is, because to me, that's kind of like the golden ticket, right? That people are looking for. My example is, and I look to you, and I look to some other people that I've recently met as like inspiration. On Sunday, I ended up spending all day long writing blogs, and I had no intention of doing that. And then I listened to a podcast, and afterwards it said, "Is there something that you do that's fun for you that other people look at as work?" And I was like, "Oh wow!" Like some people would be like, "Oh, let me jam this into a Sunday." For me, it was like, it was 8 a.m. My workout was done. I ate breakfast. My dinner was meal prep. The house was clean. I was like, I didn't have any social engagement. So I want to definitely hear about your perception on, having always being focused on something you love. My other question is going to be about continuing to do new things, but let's start with that first one, because I really, I don't think that's a perspective that a lot of people have, right? Have the chance to have. And I don't know if there's any like, I don't know, any wisdom that you've been able to gain from it that you feel like you can share.
Yeah. So it all the way I say it too, it all sounds like fun, and I have always loved everything. What's really interesting is, as a nationally ranked gymnast, I actually, at first, when I think I was like 5 to like maybe 8 or 9 or 10, I don't know, I think I loved gymnastics. I don't think I loved it after that. It became a tool to get somewhere. I grew up, my family life was kind of hard. I left at 11 for an Olympic training center, a national academy. And that was because I was good. And it was also, I lived away from my family, which was probably best because they were not really happy or doing
Sorry
well.
about that.
So I was just using it to, I was just doing it. I just was like doing what I was told. I don't even think I was thinking about like, oh, yay, this is fun. And it just, it just happened that I became really, really good. I was very disciplined. I did exactly what I was told, and I became good. And I got a full ride scholarship to UCLA. And at that point, before that, my mindset was really like just not thinking, just doing and wanting to be great and competing. But I hated competing. I hated it. I loved training, but I couldn't verbalize that until much later. And then
what'd you love about training?
Well, now that I love being physical. There's something about that. It's just, and I love using my body, and I love seeing the growth and the progress. And I think it's fun to like flip and move, and it's interesting to me. Now I love it as it's a form of expression.
Definitely.
And then competing, it just felt very strange. Like, oh, so my teammate just fell off the beam. Ooh, I might win now. It was like, oh, whoa. It created negativity. And also then it was like judgment, which was just, what? So you think that's better than this? So it was always just really hard on my soul. Versus when I finally went into Cirque, it's a show. Like, if the trapeze artist falls and clown's not funny, the show's not good. So you're like, come on, teammate, grab on, you can do it. You're like supporting each other and lifting each other up, which is like why I loved performing. But going back to UCLA, I all of a sudden had this female coach, which was the first time ever. And she taught with love and compassion, which I was like, what is that? Like, I was taught with physical and mental violence, and like, do this or else. And if you don't do it, like, and in my day of gymnastics, that was normal. And actually, negative reinforcements when you teach with negativity, actually, a lot of times you can get people really good really fast. But then there's really severe negative long-term effects on that. Versus how this female coach was teaching me was like, well, if you want to be great, these are the things that you can do to help support you. But I'm not going to force you to do it. You have to do it. If you want to do it, then you do it. And it was this whole strange, like, having to look in myself of like, oh, wait, do I want to do this? Do I like this? Oh, okay, I do. Oh, right. So I'm going to do it. I'm not going to be forced into it. And then she brought in this yoga, this philosophy of like having the mind and body connect. And her mentor was Coach John Wooden, who ended up coming to speak. Yes, greatest man I've ever met, coach I've ever met. Huge influence on her, but also would come talk to us gymnasts about competing with ourselves, becoming our best self. Therefore, we could love and lift others up because we're not in competition with them. And it was just this like huge, mind-blowing transformation. And
we're still talking about it.
And that's what I think I teach. It's like, it took me many years to even really allow that to absorb and for me to process and for me to use. And then once I, even all the way through college, and once I started, I would always hear her voice, Valerie Kondos, and I would hear John Wooden's voice, and and my yoga teacher's voice. And I heard them, but I started to really, use their knowledge and experiment with it, and then have these self-realizations of the power that it did have and does have, and therefore saw a huge transformation in myself, being happier, becoming more successful, enjoying the moment no matter what they are, and realizing that I like working, where some people are like, oh, I gotta go to work. It's like I like doing things, but I've also put myself in places where I'm trying to do things that I love. But with that, like, we just had a gig at the new event space. Obviously, the night of the gig, when you're just like in the moment and the whole show's happening, it's awesome. But cleaning it up, setting it up, doing the work, like, really, I don't enjoy those things. But because I've changed my mindset, and also I've decided to hire and bring people around me that I love and want to be a part of like, well, if I'm going to mop the floor, I'm doing this with like my people that I love. So mopping the floor is not a negativity anymore to me. It's a part of the process of what we have to do. And I'm with the people that I love most, that inspire me and lift me up. So I'm just going to be here now and do whatever we need to do. And like, that's amazing, you know?
That's it's such a good mindset. Thank you for sharing that, because I do think a lot of people hear your story and like, oh, like she just has it on easy street. Everything you do, you love. It's like, no, like someone's got to set it up. Even things like this, like we love the podcast. We went back and forth 10 times on what time works. Okay, cool. Let me send you a Google invite. Like,
Yeah.
which email do you want it to? Just like the littlest stuff that like I don't think anyone loves sending out calendar invites and and scheduling things, but um you said, like you were saying, one, if it's connected to a greater good, right? The purpose, and then the event itself was fun. But then also like just finding beauty in whatever it is. Maybe if you're mopping the floor, it's with your friends. Even if it's like responding to emails. Sometimes my brother once told me that everything you do is an art. And I was like, let me just try to make sure all these emails come out well crafted.
Cool.
Like, not to get the response I want, to be the best for, like, just a challenge, be the best version of myself. The same, like,
Yeah.
physical things seem to relate easier to both of us. Like, the same way it's like, let me see how far I can run, right? It's like, let me see how well I can type. It's like, why not, right? So
Yeah,
that's
this
just,
is that compete with yourself thing. It's like when you start like, wow, I want to be my best me. You know what I mean?
of
And
course.
maybe it's like I want, when I write emails, I actually want to like write really who I am and how I feel and what I love. And people, you can't compare yourself either. It's like so awful to the heart and mind. And one of the things that I learned from, I got to help choreograph and create Beyonce's formation tour. I did the aerial acts and teach her dancers and teach her aerial.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That is
And
awesome.
she, Beyonce, she's a superstar. Everything must be super easy or whatever. She taught me more about this whole work ethic than I could ever imagine. This Beyonce works harder than everyone else. She gets there earlier than everyone else and stays to the end. Yeah, on stage you see her singing and dancing, but she's had to go through dance choreography. She's had to do her, work on her voice. She's had to do rehearsals. She's actually writing new things, and she has to do publicity. Then it's like she is working all day, every day.
And she has a team around her, but like they did something about Kevin Hart. Like the same thing, like people like Kevin Hart literally has a whole business and a like team of like 90 around him. But like, he wakes up and goes to gym and he has a trainer, right? And but he has to do the work, and then he hired a driver so he could spend his time on his laptop and on his cell phone in the car because he's working, right? Like, he's literally was like doing box jumps while on like a conference call. It's like that's such a cool example. Didn't they do like a little documentary about that Beyonce thing?
I mean, probably they've done so much on her, you know what I mean? And it was, if the formation tour was the tour of the year, so there's a lot of like talk about that. But to see someone at the highest level working all day, every day, it's like she can only do that because she loves what she does, and I think that like work can't, loving what you do and loving work. I mean, it's not like, oh, I'm just going to sit around and do nothing all day. I mean, maybe some people would enjoy that, but like, I think that, I think if we just changed the mindset of,
Just don't call it work.
I'm cool. Yeah. Like I'm just living to my fullest, doing all these wild things. But, she's also trying to be her best self, but also she's trying to share her voice and she loves performing, but she's also giving work to a lot of people. There's so much pressure on her too. I don't know. It was just quite amazing to see someone work. I know that I have a wonderful work ethic and I work all the time. To see someone working so much harder than me, and yet it was like, oh, well, I thought we were like the queen, you're Beyonce, so I didn't know you. Wow, okay. It kind of motivated me to like keep doing it, keep loving it, keep taking it on.
Yeah.
But yeah, finding balance with my mentality. If I can't stay, how you doing? Good. If I can't stay good, then shift it, where, I teach about self-care. So I've had to like learn how to do that. But, I have to practice what I preach.
Absolutely. It sounds like you do, I don't think judging ourselves is useful. I think, being able to say that you're something that I'm trying to an ethos I'm trying to live is that just being committed to practicing, right? I'm not going to be, maybe I'm not, the self-actualized in, my physical and mental wellness and my ability to practice gratitude and meditation and yoga and running in my business, but I'm committed to the practice. I'm here to show up and give it an A effort every day. And I think it really does come down to self-love. And I actually had someone on my podcast yesterday that said that. And, if you can find like love for yourself, then you want to eat healthy and exercise and practice gratitude and do little tricks to make yourself feel good. Like you said, think good to feel good. It's funny. Are you familiar with Dan Millman? He wrote the book, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know of that book, but I didn't realize who was the author.
You would really enjoy Dan Millman, and if you haven't read that book, he was a gymnast. He got exposed. He was a Olympian gymnast, and he won the Olympics, and got exposed to some like mindfulness practice as part of his gymnast practice at a young age, from California. And yeah, a lot of I've brought him up before. He is my favorite author. He graciously joined the podcast, and I had him on an episode. And I don't know, a lot of like what you're talking about definitely reminds me of that book. That might be one for you to dive into. Maybe I'll see if he's open to connecting with you, because you guys have such a cool story rooted in gymnastics.
Yeah, and my husband talked about that book a lot and probably knows him. My husband was also gymnast, national champion gymnast at the Olympic Training Center. So probably, and my husband's also been a huge inspiration to that style of mindset, because he was just born with it.
Yeah.
Some of us have to like work to like, oh, okay, I have to work to, stay positive. And, he's just born like that.
I kind of feel like we're all like born with it, and it's like some people lose it, some people very early. But I feel like you look at like little kids or babies, it's like I marvel at the way that they react. Like I saw kids, the other day with no care in the world, like they were getting so sandy on the beach playing like this game, and it's so funny. Like I heard my brain being like, oh my god, like I could not imagine getting that sandy. When in reality, like these kids were like time stopped for them. They were having the best time of their life. And in reality, okay, if you're covered in sand, first of all, jump in the ocean or take a shower, right? Like, is it that big a deal? Not really. And my like adult brain is going to, it's like that's kind of focusing on the negative, right? It's like there's so much beauty in what they're doing. And I'm like, oh, giving myself an excuse. Like I wouldn't want to do that and get all dirty. But it's
because then you're thinking about like, oh, then I have to go home, then I got to do this, and I got to do this, and I got to do this. But it's like you're like, this is where anxiety comes in. You're thinking about the future rather than like being in the moment, present. And I think we've forgotten how to play. I mean, it's like a lot of us don't take time to play. So, it's like, I mean, it's kind of also common to not forget how important it is and how much fun it might be to play.
Oh my
and
goodness.
Get sandy.
Yeah. Right. And get sandy. Even like so I'm going to play golf after this. And even some people like they turn golf into not play. Like it's a game. And like, yeah, you can like some people are like really good at it. Most of us, right? Like I'd like to be good. I don't put enough time in to really be good. So like I'm just going out there to get outside, like hit the ball and just enjoy, right? And I do think there's an element to it, to like doing things that are too familiar that like the play is gone. Like I see basketball. I play a lot of basketball. People ultimately, you know, they stop enjoying it, and I'm like, realistically, like I don't care if the ball goes in. Like, of course, I am trying to play at my highest level, but it's like, who cares if you're making shots, if you win? Like, it's really when it comes down to it about the experience, I think.
Or when competition comes in,
Yeah. Competing with yourself.
Yeah. I mean, because it's like, it could be fun if other people weren't, making it not so fun because they are so competitive. Like, oh, I gotta win, I gotta make more. I think that's when it's like it starts to go away from play and become just about the numbers. These like external factors rather than, okay, did I wake up this morning and did I get enough sleep so I can be my best self today? And okay, did I feed myself what I needed to? Okay, let's have a pot. Did I train enough? So I need maybe train more, or okay, I'm just going to give my best effort and be completely there and like learn from all the mistakes and know that like, that's where I'm at right this second, but who knows where I'm going to be, in the next moment. I just have to keep giving my all and the most that I can. And then judging yourself rather than from these external factors like, oh, did I win or did I, am I better than him or them? More of the factors of, have I done everything I could to feel completely ready and to be able to be at my best self in this moment,
Absolutely. It's what do you think about this quote that I heard? I heard you should only compare yourself to yourself yesterday.
I mean,
like,
yeah, because it's like you wake up
definitely messed it up.
but I get it. It's like, yeah, like where you were yesterday, it's like, okay, how do I feel about that? Do I feel like, what? I feel really awesome. It was great. Or I probably shouldn't have said this, or maybe I was, maybe I need to try or work harder on this or that. So it's like, yeah, you're comparing yourself in the sense of, I want to be my best self, whether, not that like I'm trying to get better and better. It's just, I want to be happy and I want to be good to people and I want to continue to learn and grow and feel confident and happy about who I am and what I'm offering. Because if I know that I'm like giving my best and I'm trying my best and I'm loving my best, it's like I'm going to feel good about what's happening.
Yeah.
So comparing or just not even comparing, like looking at yourself, like really like looking at yourself and, being okay to continue to work on yourself.
Yeah. Awareness and reflection is important. So Carmen, I want to ask you what the title of the podcast makes you think about. So the title of the podcast is Happiness, Life's Ultimate Discipline. And you just mentioned, and the reason I ask is you just said, it's not that I want to be the best. I just want to be happy. And, like I feel you're very advanced in this. You've thought about this topic a lot, I guess, or practiced it a lot. And I see that connection. And again, it's not like, okay, if I, do the best in my exercise, if I do the best in work, if I make the most money, I'm guaranteed happy. It's not that you're saying that. It's like you said, it's more like the journey and like to be able to look at yourself in the mirror, like I did my best, right? Um, what does that title make you think about?
I love the title, by the way. And happiness is a choice. And so you have to be disciplined every day and every moment to work to make that choice, right? It doesn't,
Yeah.
like you said, it's not like, oh, I got this, so now I'm happy. Like, no. If you get this or don't get this, you can choose to be happy, right? So I think that is a constant discipline that we have to be reminded, that we have to work on, that we have to practice, that we have to find tools to support us, that we have to find community support us, we have to find friends, we have to read things and learn things, because, you know, each person's happiness is different, but becoming disciplined to find our happiness, our true happiness, because it is a choice. And so the discipline has to be in learning how to be happy.
Yeah.
Find your happiness.
I
And it's contagious too, which is cool. Like smiles are contagious, right?
It is
Happiness
contagious.
is contagious. And like, how cool would life be if everyone was like living to their highest self, loving themselves and loving others, and we could all help each other? It's like, wow, then that person's happy and I'm happy and we're all happy. Like, it's like this whole like competition, or I'm right, or like, oh, well, I want to be happy, but I don't care if they're happy or not. It's like, well, that's going to make life sad. Like, what, you just want to be the only happy one and everyone else is sad? Like,
well, life is
cool.
a positive sum game, right? Like, you're happy, I'm happy. That's the collective is positive. It's not a zero sum game. Like, someone has to be unhappy for you to be happy. We're in an age of abundance right now. Like 2022, like there's more of things than there is not, right? Like there's like, think about, 100, 200 years ago, we were living in scarcity. It's like there wasn't enough food to go around. Like now, like there's abundance in everything, like information. There's an abundance of information, content, right? Like how many podcasts and books and great social media channels are there, and blogs, and like, I really think if people took that like abundance mindset, like you said, and I want to be on a mission to get everyone in the world in a happy and healthy place. And it could be, if every single person was contagiously smiling, it would be like it would be such an exponential lift. Um, I could just see it. And Dan Millman, when he was on my podcast, he said, Sean, it's very hard to change your emotions, especially when you're feeling them right away. And I was like, yeah. He goes, but you can change how you act. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, you don't have to be happy to smile, right? You don't have to feel grateful to say thank you when someone holds the door for you, right? You can feel like shit. Then you can say, thank you for holding the door. And then when you start to act that way, it changes the way you feel.
This is the whole thing with like yoga and the mind body connection. Like, the brain doesn't know if it's real or not. So if you just smile or smirk and the action of the cheeks raising up, that sends a signal to the brain that you're happy, right? Even like, if you just open up your arms like this, that physical action increases the serotonin levels in the brain to be more open to love, to be more open to being loved. It's like, so these physical movements of the body actually, tell the brain how to feel. So yeah, put a smile or smirk on your face. Like, it does, you don't have to be like, oh yeah, but just that physical action will change the way you feel. But oh my God.
I love that.
MC Yogi, have you ever heard of him? He's like he's like a rap yogi who and he also teaches, and he would do like the craziest things and it would make you so happy. Like, you'd be like in a yoga pose and he'd make everyone like, okay, reach your arms up and then squeeze your fingers in, but keep your thumbs raised up, and really, he'd be really serious. And then everyone take a big inhale, and on your exhale, draw your elbows in and go, yes, And we do it again. Inhale, reach up and come back down. Go, yes. And now 3 times really go, like, yes, yes, yes. And it was like, all of a sudden, everyone was like happy, you know? And it was like, wait,
You can't help it.
Yeah. And like, why am I happy? I have no idea, because I just pretended to be. And those actions, like, it's like it almost tricks your brain, you know? And so all of a sudden you're like, yeah, whew, yeah, everything's cool, you know?
You think I'm going to be facetious here, but I don't mean it. If there's one thing everyone left with, I hope everyone is at home, either by themselves or with other people, going, yes, yes, yes. Like, why not? Right?
Yeah.
Carmen, our time flew by. And I wish I didn't have to go, but I have a really exciting call coming up. This company called Climb, they're trying to support emotional well-being in children. And it's amazing. And they're trying to work through Fortune 500 companies to get there. It's like a medical benefit for the employees to use for their kids. I'm so excited about this project. And I want to make sure I'm timely for them. But I wanted to say how enjoyable this was and how happiness is contagious. And I know that because you brought happiness in, and I feel it. And it's going to stick with me today for the rest of the day, and hopefully well past that. So I really appreciate you coming on, Carmen. Yes, yes, yes. If there's one thing that Carmen left us with, it's yes, yes, yes.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Sean. It was great talking with you, and nice diving deeper into how you're doing.
Absolutely. Until next time, we'll have to dive deeper soon.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you for watching today's episode. If you got something out of this, it would mean so much if you could just take a second and give us a rating on whatever platform you're watching it on. And it would mean so much to the world if you could just find one person that you think this message resonates with, and you can share that with them. Thank you so much for your support. Looking forward to share the next episode with you.